What's going on, y'all? I'm the Home Slice Ascend Hyperion. Well, what you've probably figured out by now is that today's video is about Cortana. Halo's primary heroine is arguably one of gaming's most recognizable figures, and Cortana herself has been an integral part in nearly the entire Halo franchise, both directly and indirectly. But in a narrative that is mostly about a big man in green busting alien butt, just how important is Cortana? I mean, after all, she does spend most of her time as a dictative voice in a helmet.
You look nice.
Thank you.
Well, actually, Cortana is very important, and while I'm sure you won't argue with me on that, after 6 appearances across the franchise, it was Halo 4 that propelled her written character to a developmental level higher than nearly any other character in the whole Halo franchise.
Ready to get back to work?
I thought you'd never ask.
It was in Halo 4 that Cortana became one of the most human characters to enter the franchise, and even in spite of her supposed death in that game, that was an opus to the epic rise she saw over the campaign of Halo 4. I'm gonna break it down as we explore why Halo 4 Cortana is very important. Let's get started. Before we roll things out, be sure to drop into my Discord after you finish this video and leave your thoughts for me in the chat. So the big thing to understand first is the pattern of character development in the Halo franchise. In the general sense, there is none. No, really, the characters in Halo aren't notorious for their epic emotional arcs or developmental phases. Most characters stay the same or die before they even get the chance to undergo a change. Cortana is very special, in that she's probably the only character in the entire franchise to undergo the most development, beside the Arbiter maybe. It's also how she changed that was very special. In Halo 4, 343 set out to make Cortana into a more human character. Now, this isn't the first time this has been attempted. Bungie tried to break down some of Cortana's AI barriers in Halo 3 by giving an off-camera battle with the Gravemind that caused her some electronic pain. But with 343 in Halo 4, their means of doing so were far more in-depth and more well executed.
I can give you over 40,000 reasons why I know that sun isn't real. I know it because the emitter's Rayleigh effect is disproportionate to its suggested size. I know it because its stellar cycle is more symmetrical than that of an actual star. But for all that, I'll never actually know if it looks real, if it feels real.
In fact, 343's approach to making Cortana more human went far beyond just making her feel pain. They needed to hit as many connective levels with the player as possible to sell their evolution of her character. This included a head-to-toe redesign and narrative reevaluation of what it means to be an AI in the Halo universe, a topic untouched in the game's narratives.
I was put into service 8 years ago.
8 years.
AIs deteriorate after 7, Chief.
We'll start by talking about how Cortana became more physically human first, because I'm sure that's what you're more acquainted with. So clearly Our Lady in Blue is far more visually appealing than ever before. While I'm sure the average bystander might just assume this redesign was a thirst trap, I want to argue it goes far deeper. Cortana's more overtly feminine design in Halo 4 is the output of giving her more detailed anatomy than ever before. This helps bridge that visual gap she had previously between being just a hologram yet supposedly human-esque. Her detailed anatomy in Halo 4 is key to her heightened emotional body language. Cortana spends more time on screen in Halo 4 than any other Halo, and 343 made sure to not limit her to just standing and pointing like in previous titles. Her body language is a key part of her emotional state. It's another element that drives her closer to appearing human, rather than as a stiff projection.
Come on, Chief. Take a girl for a ride.
But the changes didn't stop at her body. Cortana's face received a full makeover, but most importantly, the AI became more visually expressive than any other character in Halo prior. I mean, let's be honest, Halo isn't notorious for its stellar visages, but Halo 4 Cortana flipped that upside down. Even Cortana's eyes alone convey complex feelings translated directly to the player. Both the changes to her body and face exploit a very key human trait in us, however. Studies have shown time and time again that attractive people are naturally more liked by strangers. We are inclined to pursue, follow, and aid attractive people. And before you set your keyboard on fire with a response, I'm not saying less attractive people of the world deserve less because of their appearances, no. What I am saying is that Cortana in Halo 4 benefits from fundamental facts about how we interact and engage with each other as a species. When your demographic is in a large part males in their early to mid-adulthood, taking advantage of attraction theory is a stellar tool to generate subconscious connections between the player and character. But hey, don't get me wrong, the ladies can like Cortana too. If I'm being honest, I think I've seen far more thirsty comments about the lady in blue from women than I've seen from men, but anyway. Cortana's redesign by no means stopped at her appearance. It was her personality and essential status in the plot that was maybe even bigger and more important. Like we said, this game is an attempt at humanizing the inhuman, and for Cortana, that means stripping away one of her biggest advantages, supposed immortality. Halo 3 scratched the surface of this by implying that Cortana could be hurt in a way, but Halo 4 upped the ante and established that Cortana is not immune from death. In fact, for a brief stint in Halo 4's campaign, the sole objective is to find a way to save Cortana. She isn't just passively losing herself either. Her decline is developing throughout the game.
Do you know what that condescending bitch said to me after our first game of chess?
Cortana.
Even I don't call him by name anymore.
Yes, well, he also said he works better alone.
I can see why you chose him, Catherine.
Cortana.
I'm your greatest achievement and you detest
Hold up. Now.
I'm sorry, I just can't stop them. Like 1,000 of me arguing all at once.
This creates a sense of emotional urgency in the player. In a grim way, it's quite akin to having a dying friend or family member. It taps into a sense of desperation in the player. This is especially amplified by her role in the game. While Cortana has always been important to the plot in prior games, from a pure gameplay perspective, Cortana is an essential character throughout Halo 4, unlike ever before. The Master Chief would not have been able to do anything, basically, without her aid. Unlike before though, Cortana's help does not come for free. In Halo 4, each time she opens a door, scans a system, opens a file, does anything, she is hastening her own death. The more Cortana does in Halo 4, the closer she comes to total destruction. This is what Halo 3 didn't have. Cortana's pain was just an idea in Halo 3, just something we were told about. In this game, it's visceral. You watch and listen to it, and on top of that, you're the one hurting her. Not some enemy you can't see or some concept from a book you didn't read. Each time you hold X to deploy her, you're causing her pain.
It's the prerequisite for success.
Why should we save them?
Insert me into the defense grid.
That's a deep hit to the player, especially since despite our immediate goal being to stop the Didact, each player is subconsciously fighting to bring Cortana home, to save her. And each action outside of that is a frustrating distraction that furthers her rampancy. Not only is this a major plot mechanic, it's the only time Halo has ever done this. The death of each character in Halo has always been swift and sudden. You never had the chance to save any of the lost characters yourself. But with Cortana, you finally had an opportunity, a prolonged set of mishaps and setbacks, and just as you found yourself on the gateway of Earth, you fail. You lose her. These things all sum together to why Cortana is so important in Halo 4. She isn't just a bossy electronic voice like in Halo CE, she isn't a damsel in distress like Halo 3. In Halo 4, she's your comrade, your partner. She's counting on you to save her, but you couldn't even save yourself without her help either. The two of you are facing down a strange new enemy basically by yourselves, and at each new turn, there's a setback, there's a new blocker. The duo perseveres in spite of all odds. For so long we assumed that Cortana, much like the Chief, fought so hard to protect humanity, but at the end of Halo 4 we learned that Cortana wasn't fighting just for humanity. She was fighting for her friend, for the Master Chief. She was human enough in the very end to sacrifice herself to save her closest partner. That's the craziest part about her rampancy. We know her condition to be terminal, and we're working to prevent it, but over its duration, she actually becomes more human. She feels anger, sadness, fear, regret, the deep guttural emotions that have no purpose for a computational device. Those are some of the most important things to being human. Cortana in the very end was more human than she ever expected to be. And all it took was for her to be less of her machine self and more of her rampant self. That's what makes her so important in Halo 4. She's, for the first time ever, human, and more human than most of the characters that came before and came after. That's gonna do it for this video. Be sure to like and subscribe, drop a comment below on your thoughts, or slide into my Discord and let me know what you think there. Until next time, I'll catch you guys later.